Hey there, Juggies, it's your old pal McJuggerNuggets here. Welcome to the Juggies Powwow. Woo! It's been a while. I had to let that out of my system. I apologize. Side switch. Side switch again. Final side switch. We have a really complicated topic to discuss today, and that's the issue of long-distance relationships. Notice how I said issue there. Well, it doesn't really have to be one, but it's definitely a topic that's worth discussing because there's so many different facets to it. I'm currently in a long-distance relationship, or an LDR. Now, at the surface, when talking about a long-distance relationship, a lot of people might judge and be like, ugh. Why in God's name would you do that? And personally, I prefer to have a long-distance relationship, and I'll explain those reasons in a bit. First, I just want to talk about my history with long-distance relationships, and then we'll go over the pros and cons of a regular relationship where you're close proximity versus long distance, and then we're going to talk about different ways you can deal with either or. Back when I was a senior in high school, I was on this website called Chat Roulette. Now this thing is just like Omegle, where you sync your webcams up with random people across the world, and it's pretty cool. Now I was exploring this website just out of curiosity. I'd never been on it before. I heard about it. I heard you get a lot of pee-pees, wee-wees, ding-dongs. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of guys like, meh. Now guys, I was not going on there to see that. If I wanted to see that, I would just go into Jeffrey's room. So I went on, I see all these ridiculous people, I'm having a good laugh, then suddenly I get matched up with this cute girl. We start talking, we exchange Skype names. Oh my God, I'm telling a story! Anyway, we exchanged Skype names and I will cut off your boobs, which is your name, so I'm gonna cut you off. As I ironically wear a Psycho Dad shirt. Don't worry guys, my dad's at the bar, drinking, throwing them back, so I can wear this in peace. So we exchanged Skypes and we were talking on the web for hours each night for months. It wasn't until she decided to muster up the balls, she was in Connecticut, she decided to come see me on a bus. Very ballsy. She didn't drive, she didn't have a car, she came to see me, she stayed at my house, I asked her out, and we dated. We dated for a good year and a half. We did this thing where we would Skype, we would take trips, we would each take turns to go see each other. I would see her at college, she would come see me at home. It was pretty cool. Eventually it got to a point where we would miss each other so much that we decided, hey, let's live together. So she actually lived in this household. Now things were all well and good. As time went on though, we started to fight more and more, and then eventually we met a bitter end. Flash forward a few years, I'm on this dating application called Tinder, just screwing around, and I strike up a conversation with this girl, Juliet, who I'm currently dating. We immediately hit it off through text, we started calling each other, we started Skyping, and still to this day, we do trips to go see each other. She only lives 2 hours away, and her school, her college, is only an hour and a half away. Even though I'm out of college, she's still in, we still make time and make the visits. So collectively, with two different girlfriends, I have around 3 years of experience in a long-distance relationship. Now, some of you guys might say that's not really long distance, I do overseas. Moral of the story is, I can't see my girlfriend whenever I want. I have to drive at least 2 hours to see her. So I would classify as that enough distance to say long. But I know people have lots of different mileage varying, and some people do have overseas, or some people have across the US relationships, and I'm sure that's extremely, extremely difficult, especially when you have to get on a plane to just see that person. So anyway, I think I'm pretty qualified to talk about the subject. Now let's explore the pros and cons of each. Now with a close relationship, you get free nookie whenever you want. Nookie, is that a sex term? Did I just use that right? Pretty much sex, you can do whatever with your girl pretty much whenever you want. You have someone to hang out with, watch movies with, go out with, you have them at your disposal. Oh, disposal. Word choice! Cons of this, maybe you guys see each other too much, but that's not really a concern because you guys can just go to your respective living quarters. Now, if you're living together, I guess that's a little bit of a different story. I know with my first really serious girlfriend, when we were living together, we went from long distance to living under the same roof. That was a bit of a transition and really hard. Anyway, I'm not really trying to dissect regular relationships. I'm just really looking at long distance in general. Why do I love long distance so much? Well, I like to keep to myself a lot. I like to have Jesse time, aka playing video games or watching shows, watching movies, or just thinking, making videos, and I like to do things my way. Just very independent, and I like my freedom, so the fact that, I can still maintain a relationship and do all the things I want to do and love to do, it's the best of both worlds. Now there's definitely some drawbacks. I can't be like, hey, Juliet, let's do this night. She's like, oh wait, she's not around. But it gives me something to look forward to. Say, once every couple weeks, I go on a little 2-3 day vacation to stay at her house or stay at her school, and vice versa. You have that look forward to. And in the off times, you're just waiting. It's anticipating. It's like little mini Christmases whenever you get to see the other person. Now granted, you go through your highs and lows, because I know when I have to say goodbye at the end of the little 2-day vacation, it's like, oh, I'm gonna miss you, but then you get excited for the next trip, and it's always important to have stuff scheduled. Another con would probably be communication's a bit harder. You can't get that face-to-face interaction unless you're Skyping, but still, it's not that physical closeness. So it sucks having to, you know, decipher text messages, like were they being sarcastic, were they serious, what do they mean by this? Or just, you know, doing a phone call and you just hear their voice. You don't get to actually see the person, match the face with the voice. It definitely has its challenges. There's pros and cons to every kind of situation when it comes to a significant other, but long distance relationship definitely lends itself to my life and what I do and what I want to do and where I'm at in this phase of my life. Now let's get into the meat of this Juggies Powwow. Let's talk about the advice. I'm hoping at least some of you watching this are in a long distance relationship and can relate, or maybe you guys had one, or maybe you guys are just curious about this topic, or maybe you're just watching the video because there's nothing better to do on a Wednesday night. So hopefully you can get something from this, and I feel like a lot of the things I'm about to say could lend itself to a relationship that's just close. Now this powwow comes at a very pivotal time. Me and Juliet, you know, we go through hiccups. Every relationship has their fights. You have your ups and your downs. And we've been having some struggling because, you know, she's going into her senior year. I'm already graduated. Our schedules just aren't lining up. We have a lot of things planned this summer, vacations and whatnot, and it's just hard. You know, she's got an internship in the city. It's hard to make time for that other person. You got so many things going on in your life. This is a time of life where you kind of need to be really selfish, focus on growing as an individual, and really trying to find your way and make money and get a job so you're able to support yourself and inevitably a family. So with these hiccups, it's important to have these special tips, advice to know how to best combat it. I'd say the number one tenet, the number one rule, commandment of a long distance relationship is you need to have communication. Like I said, a lot of these kind of bleed over into regular relationships, but you need to always talk. Especially long distance, because you don't get to see them. You have to be talking to them, texting, calling, FaceTime, Skype, playing video games together, dare I say. You have to be interacting daily. That's so important. You also need scheduled trips. You need scheduled time. You guys need to know when you're going to see each other next, so it gives you something to look forward to, so you're not just grinding away for nothing. There needs to be that kind of reward where it's like we know we're going to see each other. If we don't know when we're going to see each other, then it's like it starts to get a little scary. It's almost like insurance. Like, okay, we have this set aside. We have this weekend here, July 4th weekend. We're going to see each other. It's going to be great. We have these things planned. Really looking forward to it. And just having that special date, that special time, it helps you get through the days. It helps you get through the weeks. Number 3, it's important to always be honest in a long distance relationship. Because there's so much distance involved, there's a lot of factors, there's a lot of times, a lot of question marks to be had where it's like, what were you doing this night? Or who were you with? Did you go out? Did you not? What time did you go to sleep? There's a lot of jealousy potential, and it's just important to be open, clear, communication, honest with your partner. Be like, yeah, I went out this night and was hanging out with these guys and everything was fine. Or I'm not going to be able to see you this weekend because I got this going on. I hope you're not mad. Let's talk about this. Let's be honest with one another. Let's be fair. This kind of goes hand in hand with scheduling time to see each other. It's also very important that you have like-minded interests or goals, or like you see, you know, a future, you know, like with Juliet graduating, you know, we always talk about potential plans down the road, because if you guys don't have goals together or some kind of plan in place, I mean, it's almost like, you know, what's the point? You know, if say Juliet says, oh, I'm going to New York City, and Jesse says, oh, I'm going to end up in LA, then there's a problem there. However, maybe there's a way where we both go to one place together and we explore different futures, and if we're willing to make those changes, those compromises, which leads into the next one, then everything will be okay. So yes, the next tip is compromise. With long distance, you have to be able to compromise and sacrifice times, events, some things. Like we had a community day a month or so ago, and I wanted to do it just because I always do it usually every year, but I didn't get to see Juliet for a while, and that was my free weekend aside from that. So I was like, you know what? Sacrifice it. Let me go see her. Or, you know, Juliet got back from Italy, she was really tired, exhausted, but you know what? It was her turn to come see me. She made the sacrifice, and she came, and we hung out. We had a great time. So it's important, you know, you always kind of have the ability to cut little things out of your life to really make your partner happy, but you never want to do it too much to the point where you're sacrificing all your happiness. You know, hopefully the things you're sacrificing are worth it, and you'll be happier knowing your partner is happy. Now, a lot of these things might seem like common sense, but it's just hard when you're actually in the relationship. You kind of get lost in it, you forget. And it's difficult. It's almost like managing two different lives. You got your life by yourself, and then you got your life with her or him, and it's just a little different, and it's hard to transition from like, oh, you know, we spend all this time together, and it's just really interesting. You know, you go from not seeing them for a couple weeks, and then you're literally cramming everything into just that short time you're together, and it can be a little exhausting and overwhelming. I know when me and Juliet do get to see each other, we hardly have any downtime. Either we're filming stuff, or we're like going out somewhere, or it's like we're always doing something, and not that that's a bad thing, but like we never really have any downtime, and we're always worrying because we know, you know, time's limited. We're not going to see each other the next day, so we're just trying our damnedest. It's really high pressure. We're trying to get the most out of our time together before we have to leave. And I'd say that's my last bit of advice. When you are in the relationship, and it's easy to say but hard to put into practice, but just try not to over pressurize it. Don't put yourselves in the pressure cooker and it's like, oh, we only have like this much time together, you know, this was hard for me to get to see you, and it's just like, I don't know when we're going to see each other next, like, oh no, what if we don't make it? It's just like, it's important to have trust, and that's in any relationship, and to be loyal, and to have faith that you guys are going somewhere, and that all mixes in with making sure you have goals, plans, scheduled trips, all this stuff. All goes hand in hand, like you and your lover in the relationship, the long distance relatio. It's also important to have sex. So yeah, Juggies, that's about all I had to share with long distance relationships. Just some stuff on the side. It is really challenging, and I feel like they're more and more prevalent this day and age because we're all so technology based. We're just sitting on the computer, sitting on our phones. And I feel like more and more people are meeting online. And it becomes more and more complicated. Because not only did you meet your girlfriend online, but say there's like a bajillion girls online. You know, it's hard, and we'll save this powwow for another day, but just without technology, instant gratification, and just cell phones, how they've changed the game, the dating game, and just how we think and work in general. We will save this, but it's definitely making us a little more like ADD for sure. But I'd say as long as you're still enjoying the other person's company, you love the support, the backbone, you truly love that person, and you just can't wait to see them, then it's an awesome long-distance relationship, especially if you're like me and you love your alone time, your independence, and hanging out with your friends. If it ever gets to the point where you're not really looking forward to seeing that person, or you just don't really feel like scheduling plans or trips together, then maybe that's a bad sign and you might have to call it. You may love that person to death, but if you're not making the time and the effort, and the distance just seems even longer than it did before, then maybe it is time to cut it off, no matter how strong your feelings are. Alright, Juggies, I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. I know I sure did. It's always great to talk to you guys about these serious topics where you might not be able to talk with it to somebody else, or you might not see videos ever like this on YouTube. So to those in long-distance relationships, God bless you. Make the most of it, and if not, get the f*** out of there and go be single and have fun. But just know, they're not all bad. I'm loving mine, and I've loved them in the past. To each their own. It's a tough world out there, and it's just nice to know someone has your back. And I got your back, Juggies. Have fun with your relationships. Hope this helped you. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. Twitter, Instagram, links in the description. I'll see you next time for the next Juggies Powwow. And don't forget, we got the Twitch stream tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern to midnight, on top of a brand new Skitsy. I love you, Juggies, to death, and don't forget to keep it rigid.